Welcome to Bamfordrose and our focus on a job in a workshop. This week we've got a 2010 DBS that's right behind me now, and just over in the corner there a V8 Vantage S. Both have had full engine rebuilds. So let's go and talk about the reasons why they needed an engine rebuild and what we did to them to get them back on the road. So unfortunately, this DBS got driven through a little bit of water. Some of the water went into the induction system, up into the inlet manifold, got sucked into the chamber and hydraulic locked a couple of cylinders. Here you can see the carnage that was caused. So if you have a look at the middle of the grille there, that is where the air induction pickup is. So even if the shallow volume of water that you were wading through went just above the carbon, which is only about 5 inches above the floor, if that, then it doesn't take too much of a sort of tidal wave by a lorry or a big 4x4 coming the other way to cause an amount of water to splash up the front grille and get sucked into the induction system. Each chamber, when the piston is at top dead center, has only got about 40 cc's of fluid volume, so it really doesn't take too much water at all to cause a hydraulic lock. Best avoided totally wading through any depth of water in an Aston. So we took the engine out, stripped it down, and unfortunately, as you can see from these pictures, the broken bits of conrod punctured their way through the internal block water jacket, pretty much rendering this block unsalvageable really. So we had to fix the problem with a donor block that we've machined. Now each cylinder liner gets rebored, rehoned to the next grade up piston, brand new pistons, new valve train, skimmed heads, and the engine gets put back together in all intents and purposes completely brand new. Now this car being back on the road is a complete success story for the independent network. If this car was in the franchise dealer network, it wouldn't be seeing the road for quite some time. There are no remanufactured engines in the dealer network, and in this case, because the engine was irreparable, the previous engine, its original engine, was damaged beyond repair, it wouldn't be eligible for a service exchange if that's how they were selling the engine. Meaning that if a remanufactured engine, when they used to sell them, was about £20,000, then because this engine wouldn't have been eligible for an exchange, the remanufactured engine from the dealer network would have been £40,000 plus fitting. Means you're knocking on the door of the value of the car really. So these cars really have come full circle, where much like the historic classic Astons, it's the independent network that are keeping these cars on the road when they have big problems. But it's fully repaired now, and with some refurbished wheels, new tyres, this one's had new brakes and quite a lot of undersurface rejuvenation like brake pipes, brake linings, the sort of stuff that corrodes on these cars. This car with its new engine is practically renewed, and it's going to go and give the owner good service for many years, no doubt. Now it's a very similar story with this V8 Vantage S also. Now this engine lost a valve, so it dropped a valve head that got wedged into a piston, which expanded the piston, cracked the liner. Again, this block was not serviceable, which meant if this went into the dealer network, they haven't got remanufactured engines anyway, remembering, then it wouldn't have been eligible for a service exchange. And if a V8 engine, the current price I think is about £17,000 plus VAT, then it would have been double that for a replacement engine in the dealer network for this car. If you add labour, fluids, everything to fit that in the dealer network, then this car, the repair would have been more than the market value of the car. When we rebuilt this one, 13 years ago, when we first started this business and we were building GT4 race engines for the race world, then we used to do some blueprinting. So there was compression ratio optimization, and we used to port the exhaust port. The inlet we thought was pretty much optimized. Since then, I've found a couple of really good cylinder head gas flow porting businesses that normally service the F1 world. I gave them one of our V8 cylinder heads and said, do your worst to it. And it came back with an optimized inlet port and a different exhaust port to how we used to do it. This has been the first engine that we've built with that revised porting, which we call GT4. And you know, this V8 is almost a V12 experience on the road. It's got our manifolds and catalysts on, so standard before its engine issue, it would have been about 460, 470 brake horsepower. Now it's certainly knocking on the door of 500, and it feels like it. You know, if the roads are anything but perfectly dry, in second and third gear, you've got to watch how you put the throttle down, because this thing is really alive. And I'm a biker myself. I said that this is a V12 Vantage experience. This V8S in reality is a motorbike experience. It is absolutely wicked. So it's a similar process. Take the old broken engine out, strip it down. We had to rebuild with a block that we supplied, bored out to 91mm for a 4.7, and with a brand new crank, rods, pistons, valve train, and that special gas flow porting that we just spoke about. This engine assembled itself, got put into the car. I mean, this one also had a rear frame restoration and all the normal steel underside components that corrode, sort of rejuvenating and rebirthing this car. And it's got about 30,000 miles on the clocks from about 2013, but in all intents and purposes now, this is another new car that's been fully restored for the road. If you like that focus on an engine repair, check out all of our social media platforms for these videos where we take an iPhone into the workshop and just report what's going on. You can catch us on YouTube, where our regular forum chat and question of the week will be there. And subscribe us on all of our social media platforms, and we'll see you next time.